By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Who can speak of his descendants? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was stricken. Hang on. Here's where the whole thing breaks down. Can't be Jesus because this is plural in the Hebrew. Sorry. Can't be. This cannot apply to Jesus because the Hebrew is plural. So here's the specific objection. And I'm going to read the second half of verse 8. Ki nigzar me'eretz chayim, for he is cut off from the land of the living. Mi pesha ami nega lamo, because of the transgression of my people, a stroke for them. So here this is Gentile king saying, for the transgression of my people, nega lamo, there was a stroke for lamo, for them. Lamo is for them. And anytime you see lamo in Hebrew, that is always for them, to them. Can never, ever refer to a single individual. So this proves that the servant is plural. Even though he's spoken of as singular, here's a hint that he's actually plural. It's got to be more than one. First problem with that is that lamo in Isaiah 44 actually occurs with reference to a single idol, that he bows down lamo to it. It normally means to them, for them, but it can, at least one occasion in the Hebrew Scriptures, mean to him or to it. Just one example, okay? When I raised this one time at a debate, the response was, and this is Isaiah 44:15, speaking of an idol, right? He makes a god, v'yishtachu, bows down to it. Asahu fesel, he makes it an idol, graven image, v'yizgad lamo, and he bows down to it, lamo, to it, singular. When I raised this, the answer was, well, he was an idol worshiper and he was bowing down to many. It's like, wait, he's talking about making a single idol and bowing down to it. So the objection that lamo means to them, for the transgression of my people, a stroke to them, and cannot mean to him, to it, breaks down. There is an earlier example in Isaiah, so maybe this is also to him, to it. But anyway, that's not how I translate the passage. Okay? The lamo, to them, for them, is talking about the people. In other words, as recognized by the New Jewish Version and other translations, what it's talking about is, for the transgression of my people, he was smitten for them. The them is the people. He is singular, and he is smitten for them. The way it reads in the Dead Sea Scrolls would also lend credence to that concept as well. The word nega, smitten, or stroke for them, for the transgression of my people, a stroke for them. That's all it's saying. And again, you'll find Jewish translations that read it the same way. You say, I didn't follow all that. Don't worry about it, except to say that if it is interpreted as plural, the to them, for them is the punishment. For the transgression of my people, a stroke of punishment for them. Oh, well, wait a second. The very next verse is another plural one. You see? Look at what it says. Vayitain et Reshaim kivro, and his grave was appointed among the wicked. Ve'et ashir b'motav, and he was with the rich in his deaths. Deaths, plural. Now, there are whole arguments that it shouldn't say his death, but his burial mound, etc. I won't get into that. That's another subject. However, the Hebrew sometimes uses the plural word of death to speak of an especially violent death. So, for example, in Ezekiel chapter 28, and this is Look, I'm not saying because I'm saying it has to be right, but my doctorate was in Near Eastern languages and literatures from New York University, and I immersed myself in just grammatical study, and I've got more grammars and dictionaries than you may have books in your library. So these are known and recognized principles in Hebrew and the Semitic languages. Ezekiel 28, there is a prophecy there that says to the godless king, the deaths of the wicked, plural, the deaths of the wicked, and I give documentation for all the verses in volume 3, the deaths, plural, of the wicked, you singular, will die. It's not uncommon, and especially brutal, violent, ugly death in Hebrew can be referred to in the plural. And by the way, there are lots of nouns in Hebrew that are used in the plural that are singular. The word for mercy or compassion, for example, rachamim, it's plural. Word for face, panim, plural. So sometimes plurality expresses different things. The primary term by which God is described is plural. Does it mean many gods, or is it speaking of greatness, power, majesty, etc.? So this is one of these, I mean, the argument keeps coming up, and I'm always surprised it keeps coming up. It's almost like if you ever see a team in sports, they keep trying the same play and it doesn't work, you think, why don't you throw the play out, because it's just not working. This is one of these arguments that I have to deal with it because it comes up, but no substance to it. So none of these verses give hints, refer to plural deaths.